Hello, my good friends. Mike Shreeve here, founder and head troublemaker of the No Pants Project. You are listening to, if you can believe it, episode number 24 of the No Pants Show. We've been going for 24 straight days. We're going to be talking about 7 bad beliefs that keep freelancers stuck. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the behaviors that manifest from these beliefs. I want to shine a light on them so that you can see clearly where you may be self-sabotaging your own success without really even knowing it. Number 1 bad belief: success and ethics are mutually exclusive. If you believe that in order to be successful financially or successful just really good at what you do, if you believe that in order to do that, you have to be a worse person than you are now, it would be, or it would seem to be, an episode of psychosis for your brain to help you achieve success. Because your brain, your subconscious mind specifically, what they call in psychocybernetics the servo mechanism, it would have to be okay with you becoming something you don't want to become. So often what happens in this belief of, I can only be successful if I become less than what I am in some way, less loving, less kind, less open, less generous. If that's what you believe it is required to be successful, of course you're not going to be successful. Of course your brain is going to work against you. Of course. It would be crazy for your brain not to do that. But the question is that actually true? And this is where things get tricky. Because most people, and myself having had this thought process many years ago as well, most people, when they believe that success and ethics are mutually exclusive, they oversimplify success. They oversimplify what's going on. They only look at it with one measurement, and it's often a subjective measurement. For example, if you believe that it is less generous to charge people for your services, if you believe that that is somehow selfish, you're oversimplifying and taking in a subjective stance on what's actually going on. And of course, naturally, you're not going to ask for a higher price. If you really do believe that, you're not going to ask for anything. But the problem is that you've oversimplified what's going on. Because what's really going on is that you are being selfish. You are afraid to ask for what you need in order to fully serve someone. And so you extend yourself, you overextend yourself, and now you're not serving anyone. And it's all because you didn't want to get rejected. Or it's all because you didn't want to feel embarrassed by asking. What is a less selfish thing to do is to be honest. Honesty is less selfish. Because honesty says, look, I really want to help you. In order, however, for me to devote my most precious resource, which is time, of which I have limited supply, you have limited supply, in order for me to do that and to focus enough of it, full focus, so that I'm not being distracted over here and worrying about money and worrying about this and trying to take on other clients and doing all these things. In order for me to devote that focus and time as a service provider, I need to make sure that the value exchange is there for me as well. Not because I'm selfishly trying to take something. I want to be able to serve you as best as I possibly can. And it would be a lie. It would be dishonest of me to say I can help you as much as I can help somebody who is paying a different price. Now, of course, if you just have time to give, that's a completely different story. And frankly, if you have that much time to give, don't start a freelancing business, because whatever you're doing right now, you're doing correctly if you've got that much time to just give away for free, and you can devote your full time and energy and resources and do a good job and et cetera, et cetera. I'm talking to people who want to build a business that pays the income and makes it so they're not constantly stressed out, constantly worried about money, and they don't have health insurance and they don't have all these things. I'm talking about somebody who wants to run a business and live decently. Not even talking about extravagantly, right? We're not talking about making millions and millions of dollars here. We're just talking about a decent business. So this is why people who think that success and ethics are necessarily mutually exclusive are oversimplifying what's going on. Let me give you another example. The idea that all billionaires are evil. Here's the problem with that. What constitutes a billionaire? Is it liquid assets? Is it cash? Is it there's so many different ways to measure net worth that grouping someone by the term billionaire also in and of itself is another example of an oversimplification. There's a few other things I want to sort of point out of what's really going on in the world. If you believe that all successful people, and I'm not even talking about financial success, right? Somebody who's at the top of their game is inherently bad, and you believe that because of what you've seen on TV or in the media, and be careful to assume that you haven't been affected by the media. The average American sees 4,000 advertisements per day. If they're seeing 4,000 advertisements per day, my dear friends, advertisements are run through media. That's how much media the average American is getting dumped into their system all day. So remember, be careful of the inputs, be cautious and weary of the inputs. As Jim Rohn says, stand guard at the gate of your mind, understand what's coming in. But if you believe that, successful people are bad because the media, you need to understand the media better. And you need to understand the influence that it has on you. True or not true, everyone secretly wishes they would do more happy stories on the news, right? It's there's almost even a subculture movement of, recognizing and being aware of the fact that most news is, by its nature, negative. And consider how rare it is that something positive is headline news or takes over the 24-hour news cycle. Almost never. And if you believe that the world is what the media presents, and I'm talking about blogs, I'm talking about social media, I'm talking about the television and radio, and I'm not even talking about left wing or right wing here. This isn't about fake news. This is about people who run media companies know what gets people's attention. Positivity doesn't get people's attention in the same way that negativity does. You get much higher ratings and way more traffic if you can talk about drama, catastrophes, rumors, accusations. That's what sells clicks. That's what sells 24-hour news station, etc., etc., etc. But it's not accurate. Meaning, it is a misrepresentation of what's actually going on. You only hear about the bad, successful people. You don't hear about Shaquille O'Neal going to inner city neighborhoods and dumping millions and millions and millions of dollars into improving those areas. If you do hear about it, it's a 5-minute segment in a 24-hour cycle. And before the segment's even done, you've already forgotten and you're on to the next drama piece and you're on to this and you're on to that. So if you believe that success and ethics are mutually exclusive, it's not really that surprising because only the bad stuff makes it on the news. What I recommend is that you read a book called Abundance by Peter Diamandis, who's somebody I got to work with very briefly a couple years ago. Also, a guy named Dr. Steven Pinker has some research as well, which is a more accurate representation of what's actually going on in the world. And what you will find is that the majority of successful people, again, whether it's financial or it's the top of their field or artistically, athletically, most of those people are very generous, do a lot of work in which they are not compensated for at all, and it's worth, when you start to look at that data, it's worth, and then, just to look at that the world's actually getting significantly better, even though the news makes you think it's not getting better. It's worth noting that success, when you actually look at the data, seems to amplify what people already are. So more money makes you more of who you already are. If you're already a jerk, or you're secretly a jerk and you were only kind of being nice as a show for whatever until you could get to, when you have more money, you're going to be more of a jerk. If you're a very giving individual, when you have more money, you're going to be more of a giving individual. That tends to be how things shake out generally. Does that mean there aren't exceptions? Of course. The problem is the exceptions are what's rammed down your throat 24 hours a day as people are trying to get your attention and get the clicks so they can sell advertising and etc. And this is like, what we're talking about here is looking outside the matrix. Tom Bilyeu, who I've been able to meet and sit in meetings with, and I went to his house one time to see his amazing studio. Incredible human. He has a really good show called Impact Theory. He has this concept, he's popularized a concept which I think a lot of people have, of his goal in life is to help people see outside the matrix. This is the kind of stuff that we're talking about. You are subjected to media all day long, social media, internet, whatever. That media has a certain bias or bent, not necessarily politically, but they have business goals, right? Because they need to pay their people and they need to grow their business and they want to make money. And their business goals dictate what they share to you. And because you are constantly receiving all of this information, it changes your beliefs, therefore it changes your behaviors. And so it's a matrix in that you're stuck until you see what's going on and you make the changes yourself. So the bad belief number one, that success and ethics are mutually exclusive, is probably a result of your media consumption. It's not, there's ample scientific evidence that it's not an indicator of the truth. One bad apple is not representative of the entire orchard. But if you consume media all day, you will believe that it is. You'll start to categorize entire groups of people based off of one or two really horrible, think about this, horrible enough to make it on the news type people, right? I mean, it's when you really start to break it down, it's quite wild. Anyways, okay, that's number one. Number two, bad beliefs that keep freelancers stuck is that only hard work is virtuous work. Any other kind of work is not virtuous or is not worth as much. How this affects many freelancers is they believe if they want to make more money, they need to work harder. They need to put in more effort. The only pathways that they see forward is more. So more clients, more work, more prospecting, more. This idea, I think, is cultural as well. And specifically, I think it stems from our agrarian past. And these are not my own ideas. This is sort of a culmination of people much smarter than me, having done a lot more research than I have time for. But essentially, when we were an agrarian society, when we all lived on farms, which really historically wasn't that long ago, when you look at the big picture of things, most of our human experience has been agrarian. The provider of the family would be socially pressured to make their contribution to their immediate family and to the tribe through a judgment of the physical labor that individual would put into their farm or their livestock or whatever it was that they're doing. When all jobs are physical labor jobs and communities were significantly more communal in that everyone pitched in equally and we all lived off of each other's efforts in a more equal way, when that was the case, it makes sense that culturally and socially we would create social pressure mechanisms in which we would be able to motivate each other to literally work harder, because there was no other process other than, well, I just need to plant more rows of corn. Okay, and that's just a physical, harder labor work process. The problem is, we don't live in that society anymore. To be frank, most hard work jobs and careers and physical labor and these types of things, most of those are being replaced with machine and computer automation. So if we continue moving into the next 50 years, next 100 years, judging work based off of agrarian principles and agrarian social and cultural norms, you can imagine how that will negatively affect people's ability to to do the right thing under the right conditions to advance themselves and others. Because if you believe hard work is the only virtuous work, then you very easily can become inefficient, assuming that you are doing the right thing for your business, or for yourself, or for your family, or for other people. So you may sit down and say, okay, the way out of this is I just need to sit down and grind. That literally, in 2019, could be the worst move you could make. It is possible for you to work yourself off the straight path. For example, it may seem to you that your fast path to multiplying your income as a freelancer is to go get more clients. Kind of makes sense if you think that hard work is the most virtuous work. But if you think about it, doing that might actually break your business. Because you might overextend yourself, take on too many clients, and then burn all your bridges and all your relationships, deliver less than you could deliver, less than your best. And the end result is that you may have worked very, very hard, but the net result of that effort is not at all what you anticipated. Working smarter is figuring out, instead of just working harder and trying to get more clients, what do I need to do to have a more profitable business? Those are two different things. A profitable business, now we start looking at margins. Now we start looking at different offers. Now we start looking at marketing processes. Now we start asking, why aren't people paying me more? Is it because of my branding? Is it because of the way I'm getting clients? Is it because of my offers? And the answers to those questions could be a 2-minute exercise on a piece of paper, or it could be a 3-week build of a new funnel. But the point is, hard work has nothing to do with that process. Not nothing. Well, I want to make sure that we're clear here. I'm afraid some people will hear me saying it's okay to be lazy. I'm not saying that you don't have to put in the work. What I'm saying is that you don't sit down with the intention of, how can I just go and grind and push. It is taking the time to be strategic, to think things through, to sit down with a pen and paper when things are hard and your gut is to just go and throw things against the wall and be sporadic and but to sit down and think it through. There's a weird thing going on in our culture where we praise hard workers. We celebrate them and put them on a pedestal, people who can grind, and we call smart workers lazy and unethical. A smart worker can achieve the same thing, if not more, than a hard worker in fewer resources and much less consumption required to generate the same end result. So you have to ask yourself, are you being influenced by this idea? Because if you are, it's making things harder for you unnecessarily. There's a really good exercise that I like to do, and it's simply to sit down and say, if this was easy, what would it look like? If this was easy, what would it look like? And then to make that happen. Number 3, of the bad beliefs that keep freelancers stuck is that I can think my way past the problem. A lot of people I know think that doing the activity I just outlined on a piece of paper and having the thought is enough. And they believe that the reason they aren't successful is because they just haven't had a good enough idea yet. And so they will spend more of their time thinking up an idea than executing any idea. If I was personally forced to choose, well, let me talk about this. The behavior that results because of this belief that you can think your way out of problems rather than working your way out of problems or taking action out of problems, the end result of that is, 1, you end up thinking yourself into more frustration and confusion. So you overcomplicate things because you believe the mechanism to getting out of a problem or growing your business is to think, and so you think and think and think and think and think and think. And if you're even kind of a smart person, which if you're listening to this, you are one of the smartest people in the world. But if you are listening to this, you're probably very intelligent and you have a really good ability to see both sides of any given situation. So you can see the pros and the cons. You can understand why somebody would say this, why somebody would say that. And the more time you spend thinking through those and making your pros and cons and pros and cons and pros and cons and pros and cons, eventually everything has the same pros, everything has the same cons, and now there's 50 different ways to get something done. So the problem is not that thinking is bad. It's when the belief is thinking is the only thing I need to solve this problem. What is significantly more important than the thought is the execution of the thought. It's the doing. It's the experiencing. It's the, I don't know what niche to do. And then spending 9 weeks on a worksheet of figuring out your niche, which you could go solve in 2 or 3 days by just reaching out to potential people who you think, I might kind of want to do that. Can we just have a conversation? I'm not even going to try and sell you anything. I just want to know what your niche is all about. Or if you want to take it to sort of the next level, what we focus on in the No Pants Project coaching and mentoring program is we say, before you've even made a decision about what niche or what you're going to do necessarily, go get some clients. Go feel what it's actually going to be like. There's a massive epidemic right now in the United States, at least, of people going to a 4-year university, getting a degree in something, not having any work experience, spending $50,000 to get that degree, going into the workforce and not lasting a year in the job that they went to school for. And they invested $50,000. Well, maybe their parents invested it, or maybe they took out student loans, so now they're burdened by the student loans forever and ever. And they made this huge commitment of 4 years, and a year into the job, they realized this is not at all what I want to do. That, to me, first off, seems like colleges need to be way better about preventing that. If people bought the No Pants Project program, which isn't even close to $50,000, and we did that, and we pulled that kind of stunt with our students, people would, the FTC would be after us. But I guess because the university, they can charge 50 grand, and total side there. But the point is that action and experience, getting your hands dirty, like getting them in the mud and putting your bare feet in the grass and just feeling it, experiencing it, is where most of the answers that you're looking for are waiting. Thinking it to death makes it worse, not better. And so if that's a belief that you're holding on to, it's important to take note. Learning 50 more ways to get a client doesn't move you closer to getting a client. What moves you closer to getting a client is picking one of those ways and doing it. And doing it until. Thinking about what your price should be and worrying and stressing and, oh my gosh, what if they don't take it? Will not tell you nearly as much as picking a new price and asking someone to pay it. And then asking a couple of people to pay it. One will give you clarity, one will drive you mad. Bad belief number 4 is that my past dictates my future. My past dictates my future is a very destructive belief. If you believe that because you tried it in the past and it didn't work, or if you believe something happened to me in the past and I am this certain way now and can never change, if you believe that, I had a client, it went really bad, they yelled at me, they screamed at me, I can never have that kind of client again, the behaviors that you will commit, you could even say commit, so the behaviors you will commit are the behaviors that is similar to putting yourself in a prison. Meaning, again, the brain will act to suppress any potential movement that you could pull off if you didn't have that same restrictive, arresting control going on in your brain. Let me give you some examples. When I was early on in my career, life was very hectic and I had a client who was fairly big in a certain space. Okay, really big in a certain space. My family and I had to move under some emergency type conditions. Things were really not good for us. It was a bad time. And I had to tell the client, I gave them a refund, and I said, I'm sorry, I can't complete this for you. Now, I made the mistake of making that decision too close to the person's launch date. And they, rightfully so, were way upset. So upset, in fact, that they sent me many emails saying, I will make sure that you never work in this space ever again. They were so upset, in fact, that they went into the Facebook groups where many of the influencers in this space were, and he went ballistic. Like, he was within his right to be upset, but he overdid it, for sure. It wasn't like I stole from him. It wasn't anything. I just was a huge idiot and canceled the contract, canceled our working together very close to the deadline he needed, and so he had to scramble. There was about a year and a half that I struggled to get client work, not because of what he did, because I just didn't write in that niche anymore for like about 2-3 years. Then I came back and turns out that guy, he himself got into some very serious trouble and kind of it blew up. Anyways, point is, for about 1.5 years, I just didn't get any work because of my mentality, because I had this one bad client experience, and I then created a self-identity based off of that one bad thing. Here's the problem with that. All of my other clients, other than that one person, loved what I did, and I served them super well. But the problem is, I was focused on the one bad thing that happened. And my entire being, right, the subconscious started to affect the conscious, affected my beliefs, affected the behaviors that I engaged in, and I experienced a certain consequence of those behaviors, which was really a reflection of what was going on in my subconscious mind. Nelson Mandela was in prison before he was the president. Gandhi was a lawyer before he became a revolutionary pacifist and defeated, essentially, a global superpower through peace. Hitler was an artist before he became a mass murderer. You can live multiple lives within a single life. There is no rule that says what you have been, you must continue to be. Until you can disconnect from the belief that your past dictates your future, you will have a very hard time moving forward because you will be constantly pulled backwards. Number 5, here's a belief I see all the time on the internet because the internet is easy, things are free online, and access to information. Free is worth more than free. That is a horrible belief if you're going to get into business. The belief that free is worth more than free. The saying you get what you pay for is 100% true. Free information online, my dear friends, again, this is about seeing the matrix. The purpose of free information online is mostly, with very few exceptions, Wikipedia might be one of them, although there have been some rumors of manipulation with Wikipedia and etc. Most free information is there to assist some business goal. So the problem, if you've grown up mostly with the internet, one of the problems is that you believe free information is worth more than it actually is. Some of the behaviors that you might fall into, the habits that you'll fall into, is assuming that a 15-minute YouTube video can fix all of your problems. Now, I'm not saying free information isn't helpful. Don't get me wrong. But a 15-minute YouTube video isn't going to fix your business. Like, be realistic. You need effort. You need work. Use the 15-minute YouTube video. That's fine to get going, but understand that if somebody's telling you they can fix all your problems in 15 minutes, they are lying to you. There's always way more beyond free information that is required to actually succeed at whatever it is you're trying to do, especially in the world of business. It's an unfortunate reality. I wish it was different. But premium is premium. You get what you pay for. The longer you hold on to the belief that free is worth more than free, the longer you're going to be stuck in that limited access, limited information, limited assistance level. Here's the thing you got to know about business. No business person ever does it alone. Nobody who's ever achieved anything did it by themselves. That's like American idealism, the fantasy of the Wild West cowboy. It's just not real. Like, people need people to succeed. You need guidance. You need input. You need feedback. You need to make mistakes. Even something like writing, okay? Fiction writers, where you think all they do is they sit by themselves at a desk and they don't need anybody. Wrong. Every major writer of fiction has at least one, if not multiple, editors who make their writing better. And there's all different kinds of editors. So yes, of course, there's a proofreader, but there's also like an editor who is basically a writing partner, who the writer can toss ideas around with. But then there's also all the people who do the marketing. There's also all the teachers that writer has learned from, learned under. Neil Gaiman, for example, mentored under Terry Pratchett for years. And I can tell you, it wasn't free. So you have to be cautious of the temptation of free being more than free. Free has its place. Free has its place. I'm not saying ignore anything just because it's free, but understand it's just a place. It's not the whole enchilada. The problem with free information is that oftentimes it presents itself as the whole enchilada, and you can have a really mixed up idea about what it actually takes to be successful. And so you act accordingly to what you believe is, well, I just need to do this video and I'll be successful. And then, of course, you don't be successful because you're missing huge components. You get what you pay for. That wasn't invented when the internet came on. That's been around forever and ever, and it continues to be true. Number 6, I can run my business different than I run my life. This is one I see a lot. It's a horrible, horrible belief that can not only stop you from growing as a business, it can actually hurt you as a human. If you believe that you can be lazy in your life, or distracted in your life, or upset in your life, or whatever in your life, and it doesn't immediately or directly affect your business, what will happen is you will live your life one way and it will be out of sync with what you're doing in your business, and that friction will cause failure. For example, if you present yourself in your business as a good person who is giving and helpful and etc., and in your personal life, you are a taker, and you are rude, and you are struggling in your relationships, and you are selfish, and it's only a matter of time before the real you catches up with the business you, and when that happens, that's typically when the business blows up. This is why I'm always harping on personal development. Why Jim Rohn says work harder on yourself than you do on your income. Your business is simply an extension of who you actually are and where you are in your life right now. So to make a better business, you have to make a better person, to improve in areas that you need to improve in. Which personally I find to be a joyful and fulfilling use of time. And I can say, as I improve myself, I'm improving my business. Therefore, this activity that I'm doing to improve myself is actually making my business better. / also, I get to have a lot of awesome tax write-offs in buying like books that I want to read anyways, and audio programs, and going to mentorship events and masterminds, and all these things I do to improve myself as a person. They're all business expenses. It's one of the joys of owning a business is that it's really a self-improvement project more than anything. But let me give you another example. The contradiction that I see so many people, they want something for free from someone, either their time or advice, or they want someone to give them access to something for free, or they want their service for free. They want something for free, and the irony is like what they want for free is they would never give for free themselves. So for example, people who want me to give them a bunch of free stuff so they can learn how to charge their clients more money, you have to be in alignment. Because if you aren't, clients are going to see the holes. They're going to see the dishonesty. They're going to see that you're one person over here and another person over here. And for successful clients who can afford the higher fees, that's a big turnoff. I treat other people how I want to be treated. If I'm talking with someone and I want them to help me grow my business, like I want them to help me make more money, I pay them to do so. Otherwise, I'm at odds and out of integrity with what I'm trying to do. Now, again, just for clarity here, it doesn't mean don't consume the free information. And again, it doesn't mean that, you can only grow your business if you're paying everybody a bunch of money. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's more about aligning yourself so that your business and you yourself, what you put out into the world is what you receive. If you're angry at everybody, everybody's going to be angry at you. If you refuse to pay for anything, guess what? Nobody's going to pay you anything either. You attract who you are as a person. Especially in these businesses of freelancing where it's so service-based, meaning it's a highly intimate connection to have a client because you work with them a lot, you talk to them a lot. You get to know about their families and them and et cetera and et cetera. So this stuff matters because this is a business about people. And so you can't be one person to one kind of people and then a different person to a different kind of people. You can't be two-faced like that. So you attract who you are, which is why working on who you are is important, because it's one of the steps to attracting better people. Number 7, I should get it because I asked for it. Millennials get a lot of grief for being entitled. I can tell you now, having worked for 10 years in this industry and worked for lots of different people who have served really big audiences, age and entitlement, there's no real correlation. Which is to say, I've met entitled people all the way from baby boomers to millennials to et cetera and et cetera. It seems to just be a frame of mind. But entitlement in the business world will cause you to have behaviors, and I would even say episodes, that will not only turn clients off, but will really hurt you from being successful. Example: if you believe fundamentally that because you tell someone about your service, they should hire you, if you believe that, it's very difficult to sustain the rejection that is business. Most people you talk to will not want to pay you. If you believe that they should, just because you asked, I would recommend either changing the belief or maybe don't run a business, because the strain on your mental health will be excruciating. It will be like a rift in time, in that it will be very difficult to wrap your mind around what is a lot of rejection. And when you're working with a client who is paying you money, and you believe that just because you're there, you should get a bunch of different things, I can promise you, as more and more of the workforce becomes freelance, by 2027, half of the, at least American workforce, is going to be freelance. You're going to have a very difficult time keeping clients, because they have the choice of working with people who are more service-minded and who are more in tune with their needs and who are more willing to help and to, you could say, earn their spot, rather than having to deal with somebody who believes that they are owed certain things simply because they want them. You can argue the merits of a capitalist society. And I, one of my passions is to look at other ways that an economy could function. I find that absolutely fascinating. Is this the pinnacle best that will ever be? I tend to think that probably not. Just like when capitalism was sort of designed, it didn't exist before. Something else is going to replace this as well into the future. I don't know what it is. I don't think it exists currently. But the reality of the situation is that we are in a basically capitalist society. If you run a freelancing business, it runs under the rules of capitalism. That's the game that you're playing. You may not like the game, so you don't have to play it. Like, if you don't want to play that game, don't play it, but that means not having a business. If you want to play the game, there are rules, and one of the rules is that value is exchanged when value is exchanged. which is to say, you get paid when you bring someone else value. When you understand that, and that it's not you get paid because you asked, but because you added value, and that's the belief that you create and build your business around, now your behaviors reflect a service-based business, and clients simply won't let you go because they will love having you on their team. It's the belief that changes the behavior. So really quick recap here of the 7 bad beliefs that keep freelancers stuck. Number 1, success and ethics are mutually exclusive. Number 2, only hard work is virtuous work. Number 3, I can think my way past the problem. Number 4, my past dictates my future. Number 5, free is worth more than free. Number 6, I can run my business different than I run my life. And number 7, I should get it because I asked for it. Those are the 7 beliefs that keep people stuck. I don't want you to be one of those people. These are easy beliefs to overcome. Most of them can be overcome by just starting to build your business and getting out in the real world of business and talking to real clients. The other good news is that the alternative to these beliefs, the beliefs that you would replace these ones with, tend to make you a happier person. People who believe they should get stuff just because they ask for it are often wonderfully surprised at how fulfilling it can be to serve other people. People who feel that their past dictates their future often are surprised at how freeing it can be to let it go, to understand they can change. People who believe everything is free and free is the only way to go, once they pay someone, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been missing. Like, I can't believe what I've been missing. This is exactly the help that the free stuff hasn't been giving me. People who understand that hard work isn't the only worthwhile work enjoy freedom. When you realize that you can be successful and ethical, you get to experience impact, because you'll have the resources, you'll have the influence, you'll have the connections, you'll have the confidence and the ability to use your success for ethical reasons. And it's hard for me to imagine anything that feels better than positive impact, especially at scale, and etc., and etc. So the point is, these are beliefs that are worth letting go of, because the ones that replace are just much better in general. Okay, my dear friends, that's it for me. This has been episode 24, 7 Bad Beliefs That Keep Freelancers Stuck. This has been the No Pants Show. Hope you have enjoyed it, and I will see you tomorrow.